Have you ever thought about your favorite Overwatch hero as a furry? No? Well, too bad, because if I have to think about it, now you do too. I'm gonna go through every current Overwatch hero, give them a fursona based off of their personality or lore, and that's actually about it. I just wanted to think about it and thought it was funny. As a bonus, I'll take a fursona quiz at the end. For Anna's fursona, I gave her the Bastet. The Bastet is the goddess of protection, pleasure, and the bringer of good health, but it's also a black cat, more or less. What's great about this is that they're typically envisioned to be part human already, so I don't know if this would count as a fursona yet. I'm gonna be real with you, I know nothing about the furry fandom. I just wanted to do a video talking about the animals and furries. But the reason I gave this to Anna is because she has a skin called Bastet, and she's from Egypt, and a lot of her skins are based off of Egyptian culture. So it's pretty obvious to me. Next up is Ashe, and her persona would probably be something like a viper or snake. The main reason that I think this is because her gun is literally called the Viper, and she has some snake elements baked into her character. She's not exactly a good person, and snakes are typically seen as evil. So even though it's a little bit weird, I think a snake would work great for Ashe, particularly the Viper. I also just realized this is another video that's gonna ruin my internet search history. Next up is Baptiste with a little bit of a weird one. Baptiste is from Haiti, which is typically seen as a coastal-like country. Typically a lot of water is associated with it. But not only that, but Baptiste's favorite animal is a tiger shark. Even though I kind of think a shark would fit better with Maga, I decided to give a shark to Baptiste anyways because it's his favorite animal. I also wasn't really sure what else to give him. I don't really remember any animals being associated with Baptiste, so I looked at his favorite animal, which by the way, thank you to my Discord members who sent me the link to this. But I looked at his favorite animal, it was a shark. It kind of fit his personality and where he came from. So that's my best guess for Baptiste, although feel free to comment down below any animals that you would associate with any of the Overwatch characters, or if maybe you'd associate an animal but not exactly think it'd be their fursona, because Baptiste being a shark wouldn't really work as a fursona, but associating a shark with Baptiste wouldn't be the worst thing ever. Baptiste is one of those that I'd be willing to change. Next up is Bastion with possibly two answers. The first and most obvious one is the red northern cardinal, which is Bastion's little bird friend. I think it makes a lot of sense why Bastion's fursona would be the bird that he met when he woke up. The other one, believe it or not, would be an elephant because it's his favorite animal. However, I'm not going off of favorite animals. I just left it in here because Bastion was making elephant noises, which means he was literally pretending to be his fursona, an elephant. Or maybe he was just doing that because he can't speak. But I would like to go with the latter and say that Bastion's an elephant, but I guess it doesn't really fit his gameplay that much. Like, he's a tank, sure, but he's not that tanky. There's tanks that are more tanky, but kind of with Baptiste, even though I think a shark fits Maga better, I don't know if there's anything that fits Baptiste better than a shark. So realistically, I'd probably go with the bird, the red northern cardinal. However, I wanted to give an honorable mention to the elephant because that was a very funny suggestion. Next up is Brigitte with probably the most boring one, a cat. Brig would be a cat furry, no questions about it. She likes cats, she has a cat. The cat might even be Jetpack Cat, just saying. So yeah, Brigitte got stuck with the very boring cat persona. You guys gotta be more creative, at least I'm an alpha wolf. Next up is Cassidy with one that was very hard also. I actually got multiple suggestions for Cassidy because it was quite difficult, but I ended up going with one that I found on Reddit, which was a coyote. I really haven't given it that much thought why I think Cassidy would be a coyote, but it just kind of makes sense if you know what I mean. Coyotes are typically bold, they tease people, trick people, they're persistent, easygoing, and less social, and I think those kind of define Cassidy. Particularly, the reunion cinematic comes into mind where he tricks Ashe, being very confident in his skills and being by himself, being very persistent to get Echo back. So hopefully that makes sense why I think a coyote would work for Cassidy. I'm sure there might be a better suggestion than a coyote, but Cassidy is a cowboy who's generically associated with the desert, and coyotes can live in the desert. Cassidy also matches the personality of a coyote more or less. So I think it's at least an okay fursona, if not a good one. Next up is Diva with a pretty easy one. She'd be a bunny. She has a bunny symbol on many of her things. Her mech also can do bunny jumps, and there's probably even more association with a bunny for Diva. So this one was pretty simple. Next up is Doomfist with multiple possible answers. We have a leopard, jaguar, or lion. I think all three of these work, but I think lion might work the best because it's like the king of the jungle. Kind of like how Doomfist is the leader of Talon and therefore is in association with Null Sector and is therefore leading the Omnic War, more or less. However, the issue with giving Lion to Doomfist is that I was going to also give Lion to Reinhardt. However, I thought of another good one for Reinhardt, also known as someone in my Discord suggested it, so you should join my Discord. So I'm okay with giving Lion to Doomfist. However, if Lion was somehow not available, I would give Leopard or Jaguar to Doomfist. Next up is Echo, and she was hard at first, but then I thought about it for a little bit, and I would do a Butterfly or a Moth, and I think a Butterfly would work a little bit better than Moth. Simply because Echo is typically a more, I don't really know how to put it, bright character. She's happier than the other characters, and typically butterflies are more happy than moths. I've also never seen Echo run to a light source like a moth before, so I'm probably going to go with butterfly over moth. As for the next two, we got Genji and Hanzo, which can both be associated with dragons. However, believe it or not, they do have other animals they're associated with. Genji is typically associated with a sparrow, while Hanzo is associated with a wolf. So here's another scenario where I think two animals would work really well for them. You could easily do them as just dragon. Genji has his dragon blade, Hanzo has his dragon strike. I think it's pretty obvious why a dragon would work for them. However, Genji has been called Sparrow a lot, which was originally an insult, but he took it as a good thing later on in life. And Hanzo is typically seen as a lone wolf, just like me, an alpha wolf. You know, this is the times where I need to know whether my family hears when I'm doing these, because I am going to get questioned, and my family is going to think I'm really weird and I need to get off the computer. Regardless, I am very happy with giving these guys two answers, because they both make so much sense with their lore. If I had to choose one, I'd probably do Sparrow and Wolf just so we don't have any duplicates, but dragons work just as well. Next up is the Yari. This one's pretty easy, a llama. She likes llamas, and I don't really see any other animal associated with her, so she is just going to be a llama. I don't really know what a llama Fursona looks like, but I'm sure it exists. Next up is Junker Queen, which was very hard, and to this day, I still don't know which one I want to do, because it's either going to be lion or kangaroo or something with leadership and Australia preferably. So again, we could do lion, because lions are the king of the jungle, she's the queen of Junkertown, so a lion might even work better here than with the Doomfist. So if we're okay with duplicates, I would give Junker Queen a lion also. However, if we're not okay with duplicates, I would probably change Doomfist to Jaguar or Leopard, and then give Lion to Junker Queen, but since my Discord was so adamant on Doomfist being a lion, I'm going to give Junker Queen a kangaroo, which I think makes less sense for her. However, if we're okay with duplicates, like I said, I think I would do Lion 100%. But kangaroos are just menacing and they beat people up, and that's really it. I don't really know what else to say. But no, I think Lion makes much more sense. So I think for this video, I'm okay with duplicates, which I normally don't do, but Lion is just... it's just such a good answer. Next up is Junkrat. I think we all know what his is gonna be. He's going to be a filthy little rat. Honestly, Junkrat doesn't really have the personality of a rat, but you can't just put an animal name into somebody's name and not expect their persona to be that. So Junkrat is just a rat with no explanation besides that he has rat in his name. And rat kind of does suit him still, and I don't really know why, so I'm not mad that he's a rat. But I feel like there's some more stuff you could have done with the name Rat. I guess he's kind of disgusting because he blows up all his limbs. But I don't know, this one just doesn't really sit with me, so I'm actually okay if Junkrat somehow got a different animal. But for now, he's going to be Junkrat, the rat persona. Next up is Kiriko. She's going to be a fox. This one's easy too. She has a fox pet. She wears little ears, I'm guessing kind of like a fox. Again, her personality doesn't really match with a fox, but I guess she's very sneaky. She has a fox pet, like I said. I guess it's not really a pet, but I mean... there's no magic in Overwatch, obviously. Clearly. No magic at all. You guys remember when the dev team said there was going to be no magic? Yeah, I'm sure that still holds up today. Next up might be my least confident one out of them all, and that's Lifeweaver. For Lifeweaver, I made him a squirrel. Now, the reason I made him a squirrel is quite simple. He has a tree, and that's it. I'm not really sure what other evidence I can use for his animal. His personality is more closely related to plants over animals. So the only thing that I could think of is when he's holding out his ultimate, he's holding a nut like a squirrel, and that's about all the thought process I was able to put into that because I did not know what else to do. Next up is Lucio with a very easy one, a frog. Kind of like Diva, he just has the frog everywhere. It's one of his symbols, so that one's easy. Next up is Maga, and Maga is one of those, again like Baptiste, where I wasn't sure. I could easily give Maga a shark, but I gave him a sperm whale. Maga has been, like, ruining ranked recently. Heck, even quick play. Obviously, he's nerfed now, and I don't think he's as bad. So I did something ocean-related. He's big, he's chunky, overpowered. I mean, not as much now. So I gave him a sperm whale because of all his testosterone, the sperm. I'm sure you guys understand the joke here. So yeah, Mage is a sperm whale. Unless you want to give him a shark, then sure, go for a shark. Next up is May with a super easy one, a penguin. It's her favorite animal. She has a penguin outfit. Antarctica is closely associated with her. Pretty easy. Next up is Mercy, and it really depends on your definition of a fursona. I think the best one is like an angel, but that's not really an animal. I also think the devil could work, but I think angel works better. However, the other two that were suggested to me is a flying squirrel because of her gliding around, or I guess you could do a sugar glider if that's what they're called. Or the other one was a dove. I think the angel most closely associates with her, but again, I'm not really sure if that would be a fursona or even an animal. I'm trying to think actually, if we're going off of fursona, I don't really know if an angel would count as a fursona. Anyways, I'm having an existential crisis here. We're just gonna rule out angel and devil, although I think angel is actually a pretty cool one. With that being said, it's kind of between flying squirrel / sugar glider and dove. Since we already did the flying squirrel, I'm getting notifications! Anyways, as I was saying, it's between sugar glider or dove. I think most people would like the idea of dove for her personality, while people going off her abilities would be better with flying squirrel / sugar glider. I'm gonna go with a dove just because it's a symbol of peace. However, I think Mercy as a sugar glider would look really funny. Next up is Mora, and I went off her favorite animal, a centipede. I had no idea what to do for Mora. So when I saw that her favorite animal was a centipede, all I could think of was Venipede from Pokemon, and it's like a poison bug type, so I find that really funny. Mora's kind of poisonous. Venipede and its evolutions are poisonous. Bugs are associated with biologists, and Mora does experiments on living beings. So I think Centipede works really good in the context of what she does. Next up is Orisa with another easy one, a horse, because I want to ride her. Next up is Farah. For Farah, I did a very similar idea as Anna. I did Horus. Horus is a bird person. I just got a freaking another notification. And since Farah is a bird and Egyptian, I think it would match really well and be similar to her mother's. Again, this is kind of going on the line of what is a furry / fursona, and I'm going to be real with you, I have no idea what counts. But I personally think it would work. You can tell me if you disagree. Next up after Ramatra is actually a really funny one, and that's an ant. So when Lucio asks Ramatra what his favorite animal is, he says an ant. And that is because they build marvelous structures and cooperate when threatened. He finds them inspirational. What's actually really funny is Zenyatta says the same answer. He envies ants for their clarity of purpose. However, I gave ant to Ramatra because I wasn't sure what else to give him. I know Ramatra being this leader and all doesn't really fit the persona of an ant, but I'm sure if Ramatra had to listen to somebody else, he would fall in line just like an ant. Or maybe he's just the leader ant, who knows? But I think ant actually works really well. Next up is Reaper, and his is going to be a raven. He has those 2 or 3 raven skins, and ravens typically have symbolism like struggle, grief, madness, distraught, breakups, and Reaper has gone through many of those. Ravens are also typically associated with darker elements, so I think it works really well. Next up is Reinhardt, and I would do a lion based off of all his skins and the symbols on his chest. However, for the purposes of this, since I used lion like 3 times already, I think a rhino would be a really funny one. This was suggested by someone in my Discord, and it's because he just charges into things, he charges in a lot, and I'm sure he's a little bit more humble now than he was in the cinematic. But a rhino I still think is pretty funny. You could also give rhino to Maga. However, I wanted to give Maga sperm whale because I'm sure he produces a lot of sperm. Next up is Roadhog. It's pretty simple. He's a pig. He's got a pig on his stomach. His name is Roadhog, so I guess you could do hog instead of pig, but they're more or less the same thing. If only you'd let me see his whole hog. Next up is Sigma, and this one, again, was very hard, but I ended up going with a tortoise, believe it or not. Sigma is the oldest character in Overwatch. He's also very wise and knowledgeable. Tortoises live for a very long time and are typically seen as wise and knowledgeable. I don't really have much else, but I decided to go against his favorite animal because I felt the tortoise fit better. At this point, I realized this video isn't really a persona video, more of just giving animals to Overwatch characters, or I guess turning Overwatch characters into animals, which I guess it's not really a persona anymore. It's not really a furry, it's just somewhere in the middle. Regardless, I'm going to continue because it's kind of fun. Next up is Sojourn, and we inevitably have to get to the dog. Particularly a corgi, just like Murphy. Although the cinematic was kind of the start of the inevitable, not very well done PvE, Murphy is cool. Murphy is Sojourn's dog. It's a corgi. The Sojourn spirit animal is a corgi. I don't think there's anything else that points to Sojourn's animal. She does like the leopard seal, but I don't know if I really see her as a seal. I guess it's kind of similar to a background because seals like ice. She's from Canada. But I like the corgi idea better, and I haven't done a dog yet. Next up is Soldier 76, and his is going to be an eagle. He's America, the person. At least that's what I still associate him with. Eagles are the state bird of America, so his fursona is going to be an eagle, God bless. Next up is Sombra, and I kind of have a funny one. It's a chameleon. Sombra can go invisible to hide herself. Chameleons do the same thing, but I guess blend in with their environment. It's not the same thing. Why did I say that? Chameleons blend in with their environment. Sombra goes invisible. I'm sure you see the connection here. You could also have Sombra be a bug of some sort, because hacking bugs. But I think chameleon works better. Next up is Symmetra, and I went completely off her favorite animal, which is a dragonfly, since they are such perfect creatures. I don't really understand how they're so perfect, but okay. I had no idea what to do for Symmetra, so dragonfly works, and I find that kind of funny. Next up is Torbjorn, and Torbjorn's another weird one. I decided to give him a moose, which I was thinking about giving to Sojourn, but then I gave her a corgi because it fits her personality better, rather than just Canadian the person. But Torbjorn's favorite animal is a moose, of course. Again, I'm not really sure why his favorite animal is a moose, and I'm not really sure how a moose connects with his abilities and personality, but I guess he puts reindeer ears on his turret, and reindeers are very similar to moose. I just got a freaking another. I'm getting pinged! I am gonna be real with you, I about said I'm getting pegged. God dang it, my brain is just not okay. Typically it's funny when I leave my notifications on, but now it's just getting abruptive. But yeah, I gave Torbjorn moose because he puts reindeer ears on his turret, and it's his favorite animal. This one I could improve on, but I'm not really sure what I would do. Next up is Tracer, and originally I gave her a plane, but that's obviously not an animal. Unless I guess your fursona is a plane, which don't know if it's possible. I don't know the fursona rules, but if a plane is not available, I think a hummingbird would work really, really well. This was one that I got suggested from my Discord. She blinks around a lot, super fast, super small, and hard to hit. I think a hummingbird works great. For Widowmaker, I gave her a spider. I think it's pretty obvious why I gave her a spider. Particularly, you can do the Black Widow. Again, I think it's pretty obvious. It's also her favorite animal. Her name is Widowmaker. I don't need to explain it much more. But next up is Winston and Hammond, and I ended up giving them the same exact answer. They're both humans as their fursona. I mean, humans are valid for fursonas, am I right? Especially when you're not a human. I'm just saying, I don't know any of the fursona rules, but I would think that humans count. So yeah, I want to see a naked Winston and hairless Winston and hairless Hammond's skin in Overwatch now, please. It would be funny, aha. I mean, of course, they don't have to do a aha, but I mean, what if, aha? Next up is Zarya, and it's either going to be a grizzly bear or polar bear, so just bear generically. I think grizzly bear would be better just because she does have a spray where she's fighting a grizzly bear. But some people pointed out that a polar bear might be better because she's from Russia, where it's typically colder. So either would work. And as for the final Overwatch hero, I didn't know what to do for Zenyatta because Ant was already a duplicate. We could do Ant, of course, but it's going to be for a different reason than why Ramattra wants to do it. And I think it fits Zenyatta less than Ramattra. So I went off the wall with this one. I gave him freaking Cthulhu because he's the freaking ball master. Why does Cthulhu have... Cthulhu has nothing to do with balls. Why did I do this? You know, I wrote this down, didn't think about it because I had him filled in, and then I got to it and I just made something up on the spot and it did not work well. I guess Cthulhu has a bunch of eyes, and eyes are circular. Zenyatta has a bunch of balls, so Cthulhu works. He has a Cthulhu skin. There you go. By the way, if you're not happy with one of my answers, feel free to comment it down below. I know I say this in every video, but I like reading them when there's not a million of them. But as promised, it's the end of the video, and now I must take a fursona test. Which animal can be your fursona? Whatever. Oh my god. Help keep it free for students. Let's go! I'm a college student. My fursona quiz is free. Screw off. Firstly, you consider yourself to be more masculine, feminine, neutral. I don't know. I love men. How do you often greet/act around new people? Aggressive and defensive until they seem cool enough to keep talking to. How often do you get out of the house? What's that on the side? Collect various animal bones and keep live pet insects. They just flashbang me with random colors. One of your family members is in trouble. How would you help them? Reach for the police officer's handgun. Is that an option? One word that describes you is alpha here. All right, time to see what my fursona. I need to. I am a goose. I got a freaking goose. From the options that you've picked, it can be said that the animal which suits your fursona is the geese. You're very loyal and protective. How does funny turn into that? I think what I hate even more about this answer is that I didn't give an Overwatch character a goose. Like, which Overwatch character would this translate to? That was like the whole reason I was gonna take this, was to see which my fursona would be from that. We'll take another. All right, I'm gonna take one more off camera and show you guys the results. Look for the most sexually arousing animal. Being stuck in one fursona forever. How would you like to communicate with your animal friends?
I'd like to howl.
What do you think about being someone else's pet? It could be fun. I am the weapon. And now let's see what my final fursona is. So that is not a goose. I am a hybrid. What does that mean? More than 15% of all... Screw off, ad. More than 15% of all furries fans have a hybrid fursona, so you are not alone. A hybrid alter ego is a sign of your complex and colorful personality. That's how I got a goose. Alright, so I have to be a goose. That's one of them. And I said wolf. I'm golf.